Item number 5 is a resolution honoring the memory of the late Petty Officer Second Class Sean Brazas. Mrs. Abuzawaiter.
Yes, I have the honor this evening to honor the memory of the late Petty Officer Second Class Sean Brazas. Sean Brazas and his fellow service members were ambushed on May 30th, 2012 in Afghanistan. He was helping a comrade into a helicopter when he was fatally shot. He is survived by his wife, Allie, who also serves our country in the Navy, a daughter, Addison, his parents, Ed and Patricia Brazas of Greensboro, who are in the audience, and a sister, Kelly Nance. The Brazas family has received numerous letters over the last year from friends, acquaintances, military, and government officials in honor of Sean. With the mayor's permission, I will take the liberty this evening to read a few excerpts from those letters. From the Sergeant Major, U.S. Marine Corps. We will never forget your son. I am humbled by his selfless service. He made the ultimate sacrifice to preserve our freedom. He answered the noble calling to serve, and he made a difference. Sean willingly shouldered great responsibility, and his contribution will not be forgotten. From the Vice President, no parent should have to outlive their child. Your granddaughter will know that her father has the eternal thanks of our nation. Sean, a fine young man who chose a life of service and sacrifice. From the Chief of Naval Operations, your son selflessly answered the call of service to our country. He bravely deployed overseas, demonstrating his commitment to the principles and freedoms of the United States. Our country is safer for your son's service. From the Chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff, General U.S. Army, we ask so much of those who wear the uniform. We ask of their time and talent. We ask of their leadership and their intellect. We do not like to think about it, but we also ask them to risk their lives, and they do so repeatedly without hesitation. Sean answered that call, sacrificing his life. He served nobly his Navy, his country, and the cause of liberty. From the Secretary of Defense, at this critical time in our history, your son answered the call to duty and served a cause bigger than himself. A grateful nation will never forget his willingness to uphold the values that make America unique. As the father of 3 sons, I deeply mourn the loss of this brave sailor. He gave his life for America, and America will never forget his patriotism. And from a young man who works in Washington, D.C. and went to Western Guilford High School, thank you, Sean, for taking on such a big task. Thank you for fighting so bravely, and thank you for making the ultimate sacrifice. Arlington National Cemetery has now taken a whole new meaning in my life. Never again will it be just a sacred place with white headstones. Now, there is a face I will always associate with that sacred ground. As I pass through it on the metro every morning, I guarantee you that you will come to mind on that trip. I may not have known you well, but I feel forever indebted to you for what you gave, defending us and the freedom we so dearly love. Now I will read the resolution. Resolution honoring the memory of the late Petty Officer Second Class Sean Brazas. Whereas on May 30th, 2012, this community lost an outstanding active member of the United States Navy with the death of the late Officer Second Class Sean Brazas at the age of 26 while conducting combat operations in Panjwal, Afghanistan. And whereas Brazas, a native of Greensboro, was a graduate of Western Guilford High School, and whereas Petty Officer Brazas was assigned to Naval Base Kitsap Security Detachment in Bremerton, Washington, and whereas Brazas' canine partner, Sicario, was with Brazas at the time of his death and survived after being treated for heat stress. And whereas Brazas was the recipient of the Navy and Marine Corps Overseas Service Ribbon, the Sea Service Deployment Ribbon, the Global War on Terrorism Service Medal, the Global War on Terrorism Expeditionary Medal, the National Service Medal, the Good Conduct Medal, Navy and Marine Corps Achievement Medal, Army Commendation Medal, and the Purple Heart. And whereas on October 28, 2011, upon graduation, Brazas received a letter of commendation from Captain Peter Dawson, commanding officer of Naval Base Kitsap, for top dog honor in his class at Yuma Proving Grounds prior to his deployment. And whereas the American Red Cross posthumously presented him with one of its highest honors at the Salute to Heroes event. Whereas the City Council wishes to express its sense of loss and appreciation and gratitude for the dedicated public service in defending our country rendered by Petty Officer Second Class Sean Brazas, the outstanding contributions he has made to the country, and the legacy he leaves. Now, therefore, be it resolved by the City Council of the City of Greensboro that the City Council hereby expresses, on behalf of the citizens of Greensboro, a deep sense of loss and a feeling of respect and gratitude for the life of Petty Officer Second Class Sean Brazas. That a copy of this resolution now shall be delivered to the family of the late Petty Officer Second Class Sean Brazas as a symbol of the gratitude of the people of Greensboro for his many contributions to this country.
Move the resolution.
And if the family would please come forward.
Council will vote. That passes 8-0.
And I'll ask Mr. Brazas if he would like to say a few words.
Thank you. Excuse me. Thank you very much for honoring my son, Sean. Sean, I think, was a symbol of the strength of this nation, that we have men and women that are willing to put on a uniform and put themselves in harm's way to protect our way of life and protect our God-given rights. I think it's important to remember that they volunteer to do this, and they volunteer knowing the sacrifices they may have to make. I'm glad that we have people like this that are willing to stand on the wall, as they say, and guard us. So with Memorial Day coming up and the 4th of July and summer, just remember everything we do and all the joys you have are because people like my son and others who put on the uniform are willing to stand there and deal with the people who wish to take those rights away from us. Please keep him and his family in your prayers. And he's the funniest man I ever knew. And if I can say, too, thank you to City Council for recognizing him. Thanks for Mary Kay for leading the efforts. And hopefully you won't have to do this again. But if we can just remember our men and women in uniform that do make us safe, it would be great. So thank you all for coming, and thank you for honoring my son. I appreciate it. My family does very much. And thank you.